Hiya, and welcome back to No More Future. I can't think of anything to say. All I know is right now we were having technical issues earlier, and we're probably still going to have technical issues. I swear to God, this internet's going to be the death of me. Anyways, let's just hop right in. You can't help but feel a little upset at how quickly that conversation went. Now that you've rekindled your friendship with Nem, there's so many things you wish to share with him, so much catching up you've yet to do. But the circumstances you've met in probably won't allow you to do any of that. It's like winning the lottery, only to lose half the jackpot to taxes. It definitely leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, instead of the sweetness you were looking forward to. He seems like a nice guy. A chippy, familiar voice once again takes you by surprise in the midst of your pondering. How long have you been listening in? How long have you been listening? I thought you were busy with those documents or whatever. I was listening the whole time. Or trying to, anyway. Hard to work on both things at once. I wasn't looking at the video feed, though, and I didn't catch everything that you said. Truth be told, I'm barely halfway done. But breaks are important. Even Mary agrees, so I might as well check up on you until your friends return. Looks like you're not going to be alone with your thoughts after all. You're not sure whether to feel relieved or slightly annoyed. Anyway, who is that Nem guy? I never heard you talk about him before. Yeah. I guess I never told you much about who I was before the transition, huh? Well, to be fair, you're well within your rights to keep this stuff to yourself. I don't want to feel like I'm being invasive or anything. Well, I have to ask. Did you never tell me about him because you were hoping to forget him? No! Absolutely not. In fact, he's one of the people from my past life that I used to hold the most dear. You take a moment to sort through your head, not wanting to make your explanation any longer or more confusing than it needs to be. The two of us have been friends since kindergarten. We used to meet up after school a lot to study and play together. Most of the time behind my parents' back. They weren't all that keen on me going to other people's places. But we kept it up for over a decade, and we only grew closer and closer as we did so. He was one of the few people I could really be myself around without worrying. I see. But then, how come you never mentioned him before? Your expression considerably saddens as you're forced to confront the motivations behind your actions. I guess I just thought that bridge had been burned a long time ago. Ever since I stopped talking to him out of fear during the last few months of my hospital stay, I was terrified what would happen if I ever saw him again. I guess it was a little hypocritical given how worried I was over my family. Not your proudest moment in all honesty. You're probably hoping to feel ashamed for your actions for a long time to come. You're probably going to feel ashamed for your actions for a long time to come. Well, maybe you were just worried because you cared for him the most. Maybe you just wanted to try and forget him because the pain of losing him was too much to bear. You lay silent in your seat, motionless. You feel your body twitching all over in a fit of sadness and rage as you admit to yourself that Natalie's probably right. Oh dear, I did it again, didn't I? I'm so sorry, Isaac. I didn't... It's okay. I know you didn't mean to hurt me with that. I just need some more time to process everything is all. I still can't believe I accidentally found him like that, working at a random bar I've never even heard of before. Nem referred to it as a miracle earlier. You're not quite as religious as the rest of your family, but perhaps there was some truth in his words after all. Anyway, before I say something else I might regret, want to hear something interesting? You raise a figurative eyebrow at the canine's remark, curious as to what she's interested in discussing. I'm all ears. So, about this Daphne you were looking for. It's going to be about her lack of a nose. I bet it's going to be about her lack of nose. She's the only female employee working at that bar, isn't she? No, it's not about her nose. You briefly stutter as you ponder the implications of her question, then take a brief look around the cafe. The only woman you can see tending the table is indeed your friend, who still appears to be handling that large table with the new arrivals and ignoring all the others nearby. It's quite an odd sight for sure. Rather than taking their orders or helping them out in any way, she seems solely interested in conversing and laughing with the well-dressed customers, almost as though she were one of them. No, that can't be right. Though she does wear a smile around those people, it's not at all like the ones she shared in your company last night. Is she playing a character? Is she even feeling comfortable at all? Whoa, that's her? The human. The human? You hear Natalie almost shout in your ear all of a sudden, causing you to fall from the clouds once again. Where's her nose? Now that's a good question. They're definitely when you have the time to address it. They're definitely when you have the time to address it at present. Ignore it. That's just the way she looks. Oh, I see. Sorry. I guess that was a little rude after all. Though I guess this seals the deal. The reviews really were all about her. What reviews again? The ones I mentioned earlier, before I went silent, about this place. That's right, now you remember. I don't think we're ever going to find out what happened to her nose. If she ever even had a nose, I don't think we're ever going to find out about it. And that makes me so sad, because I'm kind of curious as to what happened to her nose. Hydration. All that stuff sort of faded from your mind as soon as Nemerin showed up, alongside any real interest in the mystery behind this place's reputation. I'm giving them a quick read now that I have time, and... oh gosh, where do I even start? What do you mean? All the top reviews, or at least the ones that got shared the most, mention an interesting, unique, or sometimes exotic waitress at some point in their description. Every last one of them! Hold on! Are you for real? Interesting, unique, and exotic. Those aren't exactly the words you'd use to describe Daphne first and foremost because of their crudeness, and yet those appear to be the thoughts of the people who left these reviews. Not gonna lie, this is some seriously creepy stuff. Even the reviewers who were never served by her can't stop talking about her. It's actually insane. Like, I get that she looks weird and maybe a little scary, but some of this stuff is seriously messed up. Not even girls on dating sites are obsessed over this much. Is she some kind of famous influencer or something? While you are curious about Natalie's supposed knowledge over dating apps and websites, you're too invested in this mystery at the moment to worry about that for now. Not to my knowledge, no. Though I suppose this explains why those people over there seem so interested in her. You take another look at Daphne, who's still dealing with those same people from earlier. Now that Natalie mentions it, they're all strangely fixated on her for some reason. What exactly are those people so interested in? Is it her looks, her mannerisms, her favorite conversation topics? Or perhaps... While you ponder about that, you notice someone intruding on that unsettling oasis. Nemerin suddenly exits the building and approaches that table, much to Daphne's surprise and the patron's chagrin. He exchanges some words with the people present, who all suddenly turn to stare at you for a moment. If before you felt more or less ignored by the customers around you, now you're once again at the center of attention. As you try to hide away from their curious and unsettled gazes, you spot the human taking her leave from the annoying-looking group. She hurries towards the cafe's entrance while Nemerin seemingly takes over that table for the time being. You don't even have time to question what just happened as Natalie addresses you once again. Well, that's about all I wanted to say. I gotta get back to my job now. If all goes well, I should be done with everything in 20 minutes or so. That's great. Maybe this means I'll be able to introduce you to some of my friends later. The canine can't stop herself from gleefully snickering at your proposal, seemingly rather excited. Of course, I'd love to meet them myself. See you later, Isaac. And with that, Natalie's voice once again disappears from your head, leaving you to your own devices. What she shared with you about your friend in this place's reputation still lingers in your head. Something's clearly going on, and you have absolutely no clue what that could be. Between your earlier discussion with Bradbury, Mary, and Jasper, your unexpected meeting with Nemerin, and this new mystery going on with Daphne, today's morning has certainly been more eventful than ever. Hopefully your human friend will be able to shed some light on her situation the next time you see her, assuming she's even willing to talk about it, that is. Looks like you won't have to wait much longer for that to happen. After all, you immediately spot Daphne coming out of the building, carrying all sorts of foods and beverages in silver trays carefully balanced on her arms. At first you mistakenly believe that the girl's heading towards that other group on the other side of the cafe, but you're surprised to see her turning in your direction instead. Her expression is still as unimpressed as ever, while her trays are much fuller than you thought they'd be. You don't recall ordering that much food, honestly. Is something emotionally damaging going to happen? You don't recall ordering that much food, honestly. Though it's very much possible that you did, busy as you were mulling over Nem's sudden appearance earlier. You pray that Jasper or those dreaded owners won't find out about this little waste of company dime. Here you go. Nachos, chicken sticks, vegan meatballs, salmon carpaccio, and a bottle of water. Did I forget anything? Looks like Daphne's still giving you the proverbial cold shoulder for the time being. It's like you somehow offended her without even realizing it. Though it could just be you taking things too seriously again. You try not to let it get to you as you answer. Yeah, that's about all I asked for. If there truly was anything more, you won't bother to check. This feast is already too big for one person to eat through. Good. Honestly, the walk between here and the kitchen never gets any shorter. Especially when you have to walk it over and over again, I imagine. Yeah. In the midst of this conversation, the girl grabs a nearby chair and nonchalantly drags it closer to your table. Though it faces the wrong direction, she doesn't seem to care. She sits down and resumes the conversation. Come on. Shoot. Huh? Don't act surprised. I've seen you staring. You've been meaning to ask me something, yeah? Go on. I'm listening. Daphne's not exactly wrong. There are many questions prodding at the back of your head, and you'd be lying if you said you weren't interested in finding some answers. At the same time, this doesn't look like the right moment to be engaging in a conversation with the busy-looking woman. Are you sure? I know you're on the clock and everything. Yeah, about that. I know you'll think I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, but I have time. Really? Yeah. In fact, the more of my time you can waste, the better. That does sound pretty hypocritical indeed, given her reaction to Nem doing the same thing not even 10 minutes ago. That said, she doesn't look like someone who's trying to take advantage of you right now. Her expression, though still somewhat distant, almost looks pleading in a way. Perhaps it won't hurt to chat with her for a few minutes after all. So, who are those people? You vaguely motion at the group Daphne was hanging out with earlier, trying not to be too obvious. You said you didn't have many friends last night, and yet those people sure seem to be acting like... Oh, you mean those people. They hate me. Huh? Never in a million years would you have been able to arrive at this conclusion. Are you sure about that? Well, I guess hate is a bit of a strong word. It's more like they're repulsed by me. Repulsed? Daphne tries to keep quiet, but it's evident that she has a lot more to say about this than she let on. Eventually, after giving it some thought, she releases a final sigh as she gets ready to deepen her explanation. Yeah, that's what intrigues them about me. Of course, they never say it out loud. They prefer to call me interesting or outstanding or whatever dumb word they're obsessed with that week. But at the end of the day, all they really do is poke fun at me for the way I look. That's why they drive all the way here from other cities or states. That's why they invite all their friends and families and treat this like some kind of sick vacation trip. All this just to see me. All this just to laugh at me. And I have to play along with it all unless I want to get fired. Pretend like they're the funniest people in the world, and then I'm some kind of genetic freak, and all I get in return is $8 an hour. All because I had the misfortune of being born a human. You almost cannot believe what Daphne's telling you, and yet her expression leaves little room for doubt. She sounds dead serious as she describes her awful situation, which she seems powerless to stop. That's horrible. You never would have thought people like Daphne would still be treated like that these days, like some kind of alien or exotic pet. You thought the times had moved beyond pettiness like that. Yeah, they must be. Just imagining what she must have felt there at that table just now, surrounded by those people. It's enough to make you shiver. Does this happen regularly? It happens daily. The faces change, the ages change, the clothes change, but their attitude towards me, that one never changes. You feel a burning rage shining within you as you fight the urge to walk over to that table and serve those pricks a knuckle sandwich of your own design. Not like that do either of you much good. Daphne would likely lose her job if you tried to confront them about their actions, while you, well, you just lose everything. As much as it pains you to admit, there's nothing you can do to help your friend out as it stands. Does your boss even know of this? Of course he does. Who do you think set this whole thing up? They could have just stuck to their usual clientele that's already more or less used to having me around, but no! They wanted those big, fat, rich kid wallets that bad. Well, isn't there anything you can do about it? Obviously, your employer's not going to help you out, but maybe Nem could... Nemerin's just a waiter, same as me. If I can't do shit, neither can he. The only reason the boss keeps him around is so that he can look at the other tables while I'm busy pampering the rich shit mongrels of the day. Unlike me, he's replaceable. The moment he tries to speak up or do something to upset my relationship with our VIPs, you can bet he's going to get his ass fired. The human once again sighs as she uncomfortably shifts in her seat. Which is exactly what he just did. I really hope the manager doesn't find out about this. What are you talking about? The only reason I'm here with you right now is because you told those idiots that you really wanted me to come hang out with you, and that the manager agreed. Obviously, that's bullshit. I bet that pig's stuck in his office as usual watching football or whatever while we're out here working, and with some luck, that's where he'll remain until those people are gone. I'd hate for Nemerin to get in trouble just because he wanted to help me out. You're honestly quite surprised. You didn't expect the girl's mood to do a complete 180 like that all of a sudden. And show you such a caring side of herself, too. Maybe you have misjudged her all along. Her abrasive attitude today is probably the result of untold stress and pain at her job. At least she still has the strength to care about your other friend even amidst these turbulent times. Does this mean you care about him? About Nem, I mean. You didn't seem all that happy around him earlier. He's one of the few people out here who's never given me shit because of how I look. That's more than I can say about most people I've ever met. That said, I don't exactly care about him. I just don't want him to get hurt because of me is all. Other than that, we're just coworkers. That sounds a whole lot like caring, truth be told. Whether Daphne is trying to be edgy on purpose or whether she's actually that dense is beyond you. So, I presume quitting this job is off the table? You expected the human to react harshly to your suggestion, and yet her reaction is anything but. In fact, she looks a lot more dejected than angry as she replies. It's not like I wouldn't be able to find another job. It's just that nothing would change even if I did. How so? It'd just be the same old story all over again, really. It doesn't matter who hires me. A grocery store, a jewelry, fucking Leroy Luffins. All of them would find a way to advertise to the world that a human's working for them now. After that, it wouldn't take long for the same old pricks to show up again. The girl's words sound hopeless, and yet there's very little you can do to rebut them. All you can do is listen as your friend explains her despicable situation. The pay here's bad, but at least it keeps me and Apollo afloat. And overall, serving tables is easy enough that even I can do it. I don't think I really get to complain, all things considered. You knew that humans were often treated like small celebrities due to the rarity of their species already, but you never could have imagined their lives could be this bad. Are people really so evil that they don't see the problem with ruining the life of this poor girl, only because she looks a little different from them? It seems the two of you are much more alike than you originally thought. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to vent about this. I don't get many of those around here, especially around this hour. I should probably get back to work now. Wouldn't want those guys to start thinking I'm deliberately trying to ignore them. Which she clearly is, though evidently not without reason. Besides, I gotta carry all these empty plates and glasses back to the kitchen. Huh? What empty plates? I still have to... You almost faint as you finally notice that all the delicious food and the refreshing drinks Daphne had brought you earlier are now completely and utterly gone. How could such a tragedy unfold before your very eyes without you even noticing? You kinda went on a binge eating spree while we were talking. Though, to be fair, I helped out a little bit here and there too. I guess you really were hungry after all. You cannot even recall what your lunch looked like, much less tasted. Maybe Daphne was right. Truly feels like eating air around these parts. Though at the end of the day, what sticks with you the most isn't your ravenous hunger, but the weight of Daphne's words. Well, take care, alright? I'll go back to... Wait, before you go... Daphne's eyes widen as you pull out the bag containing Apollo's packed lunch from under the table, where you left it upon settling on your chair. You'd almost forgotten all about it in the midst of that unsettling conversation. Though luckily, you managed to remember it just in time. Apollo told me to give this to you. I don't remember everything that's in it, but I'm sure Apollo put great effort in making it just for you. I hope this can make your own lunch a little bit better too. The human almost sheds a tear as she takes the bag off of you, looking both relieved and quite excited. Apollo did this for me? Even today? Yep. He was worried that you wouldn't get a chance to have your usual lunch today since you left early, so he asked me to come deliver it in his stead. So that's why you came all the way here. Upon realizing this, Daphne's expression suddenly makes another U-turn, looking thoroughly downcast instead of glad. It really took me this long to figure it out, huh? God, I'm such a fucking loser. The woman hastily grabs your bag and your empty plates and heads back towards the kitchen, her head shaking in disapproval all the way through. You don't even have the time to beckon her one final time before she disappears beyond the entrance to the cafe, leaving a sour taste in your clueless mouth. What could have driven her to become so upset in such a short amount of time? You didn't even do anything this time. However, in spite of how ridiculous this situation turned out to be, you can't help but worry over your friend nevertheless. God, I hope she's alright. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Nem suddenly lays his gentle hand on your shoulder, sending shivers down your spine as he does that. Given that you weren't expecting him to be back so soon, you're understandably quite shocked. Not you too. You're lucky that you can no longer die of a heart attack, as Nem and Natalie would have already killed you 10 times over with their antics by now. Sheesh, sorry. I just wanted to see you off before you left the cafe is all. Right. You'd almost forgotten about that too. After everything that was said and done this morning, keeping track of your priorities and commitments has become quite a challenge. You do your best to ignore what just transpired between you and your friend for the time being, so as to focus solely on the joyous strike before you. Does this mean you're done covering for Daphne? Yeah, she'll take over now. Can't risk those jerks throwing down a fit over their favorite human disappearing for more than 2 seconds. Huh? Does this mean that they treat you poorly too? Nemerin hesitates to answer, looking a little embarrassed as he averts his gaze from your own. They called me a sparkle dog. Wait, really? You're not even sure if that's supposed to be an insult, though your friend evidently seems to treat it as one. What even is a sparkle dog? Like, I think I've seen one, maybe. Like, sparkle dog. Fursona. Ah, they're colorful. English.wikifur.com. Please explain to us what a sparkle dog is. Sparkle animals are any animal with bright, unrealistically colored fur. Some furries have described this fur as having clashing colors. They are often depicted with accessories or decoration including piercings, tattoos, and jewelry. Finally, they must have sparkles. Yeah, I can see why. I can definitely see why. Yup. I swear, they're just a bunch of snobby jerks and their eyesight stinks too. Nemerin sighs yet again as he literally shakes these thoughts out of his head. So, did you enjoy your lunch? Kind of. It's complicated. I see. I guess this means you're about to leave? Seems that way. But before I go... Want to exchange numbers and stuff? Maybe hang out at your place one of these days, like we used to? The young Drake reacts to your invitation with unbridled exuberance. Of course! I'm actually free later in the evening if you're up for it. Really? That'd be nice. Of course, though between my shift and my chores, I won't be free until 6 p.m. at least. After that, however, I'm all yours. Awesome. I can't wait. Okay, where's the thing? Okay, next uwu counter. We are at 1 uwu right now. The two of you swiftly exchange your new numbers, your mind already wandering to what sort of games the fluffy Drake's been hoarding in his room ever since you left school. It looks like you two will have a chance to catch up today after all. As you're exchanging numbers with your friend, you're surprised to find 2 numbers highlighted on a screen instead of 1. Which one is yours again? The one above. I see. Then whose number is the second? Ah, that one's your cousin's. Were you not sitting on a chair just now, you'd have unceremoniously collapsed onto the hard floor beneath you at the sound of Nemrin's words. Excuse me? Yeah, it's your cousin's. George, right? He contacted me a few weeks ago, actually. He told me to give you his new number if I happened to pass you by, since he couldn't find a way to reach you otherwise. Of course, I thought that was pretty strange. Back then, I was pretty sure that you were dead and everything. I just assumed his family never told him about you passing or something. I saved it anyway, though, just in case. What exactly happened between you and your family for this to happen, though? Memories of that dreadful day when you last spoke once again resurface in your mind, though you try to cloud them as best as you can while you answer the Drake's query. It's a really long story. Maybe we could save that for later. Perceiving the sadness and regret in your voice almost immediately, Nem resolutely nods to your request. Sounds good to me. And hey, don't forget his number. As you once again take a look at your cousin's phone number, committing it to memory harder than you did any textbook in school, you can't help but crack a faint smile as you realize the meaning of this seemingly random event. You actually have a lead. No, a way to reconnect with your estranged family. Finally, after 2 whole weeks, you have it. You wasted so many hours in pointless internet searches back at Pandora and scoured vast, unknown parts of the city in the last few days looking for your relatives. All in vain. And now that you somehow found your old friend, which you hadn't even realized you'd missed for so long, he comes bearing a free ticket to your dearest dreams. After everything you endured in the last few days, or rather weeks, this is nothing short of a miracle. If you could still cry, you'd likely have short-circuited by now. Thanks, Nem. I can't even begin to thank you for this. Oh, don't mention it. All I did was relay a phone number. It's not that big of a deal. But No buts! You know I don't like buts! It's just a simple favor between friends. I know you'd have done the same had our roles been reversed. Now go call your cousin Isaac. I'm sure he's missed you just as much as I did. Uwu number 2. You almost cannot stop yourself from giving the Drake the meanest, tightest hug of your life. But you immediately realize that it'd be best to save that for later. For when you're actually at his place. I'll see you later tonight then. See you, Nem. Bye-bye. See you later. With your dear friend waving you goodbye, you promptly leave the cafe behind as you pursue your newfound purpose. Hydration. That killed me. Hey, Nats. You free now? You hear some rustling on the other end of the connection while Natalie tries to find the microphone. I'm here! What's up, Isaac? Just needed a quick favor is all. Are you still busy with those documents? Not right now, no. How can I help you? You briefly take a look at your surroundings. You're still standing in the middle of a heavily trafficked plaza, full of people who keep giving you mean looks and spreading harsh whispers everywhere you look. Oh, well, in that case, let's just, take a look at the patrons and, judge them since they're judging us. Bruh. But no, okay. We're gonna judge them real quick. Okay, so, this specimen, definitely a pick-me. Oh no, I'm not cute, get out of here. I'm not like other girls, I play Fortnite. definitely that kind of person. This one is the pick-me's only friend. This one is attempting to live the cottagecore aesthetic, the one that Kalen couldn't handle. Kalen from Far Beyond the World, the one that he couldn't handle. This one's just a bitch, like a kind of person who's just like, oh yeah, I'm not nice, but I'm happy. I'm happy and I'm a fucking bitch. Vegan. And it looks like he's smoking from over there. Like, hashtag bad boy attitude. It's definitely not the right place to take care of your urgent business. I need you to find me a secluded spot nearby. Somewhere I can sit back and relax without fear of being disturbed. Sure, I can do that. Why do you need it, though? Let's just say I have a very important call to make. As you walk away from the cafe, you feel your mind racing at the thought of making that dreadful call. Old memories, doubts, and hopes clash as you lose yourself in the labyrinth that stretches around you. Natalie's voice is your only anchor, your only guide in this realm you no longer care for as you dissociate further and further from reality. Still too many people. How about you take a ride over there? Should be a nice spot for resting nearby. You can hardly feel the weight of the bystander's stares as you mindlessly follow the Labrador's instructions, letting your body run on autopilot as you consider and evaluate all sorts of questions and answers. There! See that narrow street by the electronics shop? You don't see anything, truth be told. Your eyes only see inside you at present, while your legs walk roads you do not recognize, following cues you only barely understand the meaning of. It is like this that you finally reach a small opening amidst the buildings, a square-like space that separates two large apartment complexes, complete with an old-looking fountain in the middle and a few benches surrounding it. Alright, looks good so far. Don't see anyone hanging around at the moment. Do you? You briefly take a break from your hyperactive mind and check your surroundings, as per the dog's polite request. The plaza is indeed empty, most likely due to the time. According to your inner monitor, it's just about that sweet spot between the beginning of lunchtime and the end, where most people are out and about instead of entering or leaving their houses. This should be good enough. As you sit down on the bench closest to you, right by the flowing waters of the fountain, you feel like you're still just as clueless as to what to do next as when you left the cafe. You now have in your possession what could be your only link to what remains of your family, and your own little cousin no less. This is probably as good as it's This is probably as good as it gets for you at the moment. All you've ever wanted since waking up in this body was getting back in touch with him and everyone else, and you're now closer to that dream than ever before. However, for some reason, you cannot stop trembling in your seat. In spite of your best efforts to control yourself, you feel fear and anxiety grip you tightly as you tell yourself that this is the moment you've been waiting for since you first awoke. Isaac, can you hear me? Natalie's voice manages to cut through the darkness, though your body doesn't react at the sound of it. You never told me who you were going to call. Is it someone important? You hesitate before answering the girl's question, your mind torn between your clashing thoughts and the conversation with your helper and friend. Yeah, it is. You try to explain yourself before Natalie can embarrass you by making further queries, but you find yourself struggling even as you do. My cousin. I now have a way to talk to him. That's wonderful! That's exactly what you were looking for, wasn't it? I'm so happy for you, Isaac! The dog's spirits are high as she celebrates your stroke of good luck, and not even you can avoid cracking a smile as she does so. It really is wonderful, yeah. But even now, you feel the darkness tugging at your legs, threatening to pull you down into the abyss beneath. But what? Is something wrong? You can't even let off a sigh as you sort through your thoughts, feeling like even your breath is caged inside you. I spent so much time looking for him, for anyone, that I never even considered what I'd do once I actually found them. You think back to your conversation with Daphne and Apollo last night, when you last touched on the topic of your family with anyone else. I guess I never really got this far in my mind. I honestly thought it'd take longer. Much longer. I was so busy thinking about how to get here, I never really thought of what would happen afterwards. Thanks to Nem, I have the key to my old life I so desperately wanted. And only now do I ask myself, should I use it? You pause as you further collect your thoughts. Do you not want to reconnect with your family then? What? No, of course I do. I guess I'm just scared is all. Of what? Natalie's questions are brief and straight to the point, but she still speaks with the thoughtfulness and care you've come to expect from her. And yet, your mind remains messier and more cluttered than your old bedroom. I don't know. There are so many fears screaming in my head. Like what? Again, she interrupts you before you can completely shut down. Like calling at the wrong time or saying something stupid. Like making some sort of reckless, unforgivable mistake. Like hurting him, or putting him in danger without meaning to. You shiver as you try to avoid thinking about what his parents might do to him were they to find out about this. But that is far from the cruelest thought in your mind, and you know it. Like calling him, only for him to start shouting or ridiculing me. Like coming to the realization that maybe they all left for a reason, and that it was foolish of me to hope things could go back to the way they were. A brief silence follows as the peaceful waters of the fountain slosh behind you. For a second, you begin to fear that this quiet will be everlasting, that no further words will ever be spoken. That you'll stay a prisoner to your thoughts for the end of eternity, and that you'll never be free of them again. But then, of course, the spell is shattered as you hear the Labrador's comforting voice speak into your head. Isaac, I think you should just call him. You perk right up as you hear the canine's suggestion. But your emotions are overwhelming you. You're getting more and more consumed by fear the longer you stall. Normally, I'd suggest you just get up, leave, and try another time, but I can tell this issue will continue to eat at you unless you finally confront it head on. You sit in silence as you ponder over the canine's words, unsure as to what to do. Surely there's merit in what she's saying. However, at the same time, in the end, I guess all I can ask is, just do what you want to do, Isaac. I know you were waiting for this chance, and I'm glad you finally have it. Whether you use it or how you use it is all up to you now. Nats, you take a moment to reflect on your friend's gentle words of encouragement, which for a moment appear to dispel the dark clouds in your head. You're still unconfident, confused, and afraid, but maybe you don't have to be. Maybe you can be better than this. Thanks, Nats. No problem. I'm sure everything will go just the way you planned. Yeah, I hope so too. Once everything's been set up and the phone starts ringing, Natalie bids you good luck one last time before leaving you on your own. As you wait, as you hope for him to pick up the phone, your doubts and fears seem to grow exponentially within you. And yet, your smile never falters. You cling on to optimism and with all the willpower you possess, fighting tooth and nail to never let it go. This is how you wish your cousin to see you right now. The last thing he needs is a blathering, sobbing mess of a... Hello? Your thoughts immediately freeze as you hear a familiar, youthful voice speaking into your mind. I don't recognize this number. Wait! Isaac? Is that you? You almost stumble onto yourself as you immediately reply to his question. Yeah, it's me. You hear a shocked gasp on the other side of the call, but you're too busy speaking what flows into your mind right now to worry about it. I got your number from Nem just now. I hear you've been looking for me. For a moment, nothing happens. Neither you nor your cousin say another word, and an awkward silence fills the gap where your explanation should be. You desperately try to say something, anything, but the words disappear from your mind just as easily as they first appeared, leaving you stranded in a conversation you're no longer sure you should be having. As you feel embarrassment and regret crawling up your spine like a monster ready to jump at you at any moment, you painfully await your cousin's reaction to this unsolvable mess you've created. But then, the sound of some kind of wooden surface being slammed repeatedly by a fist or some other blunt object can be heard from the other side, seemingly without reason. As you question just what is going on, you hear George speak once again. I fucking knew it! His tone is surprised, relieved, but most really excited. Dude, I fucking knew it! Holy shit! You're alive! You're really alive! Everybody told me that you were dead, but I knew something was up. You can't help but smile as you hear George shouting and screaming his lungs out on the other side of the call, your worst demons vanishing at the sound of his laughter. Though you're still worried about his parents finding out, that fear pales in comparison to the hope you've just reacquired. I just can't believe it, They... Those slimy, lying pieces of... He makes an effort to recompose himself before making his next query, while you wonder just how much your family revealed about your passing to your cousin. What in the world happened? It takes you a while to come up with an answer to that question, open-ended as it is. Well, I guess I can see where they came from when they told you that I died. But that was bullshit, right? I mean, you're talking to me right now. You expected George to be somewhat skeptical of your resurrection, but his faith is much stronger than you anticipated, though, knowing him, you probably should have expected him to react like this. Like, I knew something was up right from the get-go. No visit to the hospital, no body in the casket at the funeral, and they immediately decide to relocate here of all places? Hold on a second. They held a funeral? For me? If you could still cry, you'd have broken into tears at the realization. Your voice certainly cracked as it happened, at least. A funeral for a living man. You didn't think they were capable of that. To mourn your passing instead of celebrating your survival. With you. It's not like you don't understand their point entirely, but this is still so wrong, on so many levels. They knew there was a chance. They knew you were still here in a way. But they ignored it, and chose the ending they preferred the most without even considering your feelings. Or George's. You feel sick. Isaac? Isaac, are you there? Your cousin's voice snaps you back to reality. You hasten to reply before he becomes even more worried about you. Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, good. That's good to hear. He sounds a little apologetic all of a sudden, probably because of your sudden silence earlier. Anyway, you still haven't told me how you survived. One day your brain was about to pop and the next... Well, I really have no clue at this point. It's a long story. I have time. My parents aren't around right now, if that's what you're worried about. They're off to some kind of conference or seminar or whatever. You know how those things get. He sounds really eager to learn all the details you can spare. Not that you can blame him. Yeah, I get what you're talking about. Well, alright. Basically, I got approached by that one company, Pandora, and... Pandora? That weird corporation that's all over the news these days? That's nuts. What did they do? Replace your brain with a computer or something? And your vocal cords too, by chance? I didn't say that before, but like, your voice sounds a little different from what it was. Don't get me wrong, it's totally sick, but... You hesitate to reveal the full truth to George, once again fearing he might not take it as well as you'd hoped. But in the end, you decide there's little to gain to be found in lies and deception. I had a whole lot more replaced than just my brain. They tried to rip my soul out of my body and place it in an android equivalent, which... I'm not even sure if it worked, but... Wait, hold on. You can feel excitement once again building up in your cousin's voice. You're the synthetic? Holy shit! You can hear your cousin practically bouncing around with excitement as he realizes the full extent of what happened to you, leaving you completely flabbergasted. You thought he stopped overreacting like that back in middle school. Probably not the right time for jokes, you realize. After all, there's still a chance you could take this whole thing the wrong way. Yeah, I'm a synthetic now. I hope that doesn't... No wonder those freaks didn't want me to find out. You became so fucking cool, they simply couldn't bear it anymore. Holy shit, I'm about to faint. Never mind. Looks like you have other things to worry about instead. George? Please don't do that. Huh? Oh, sorry. You know how I get when stuff like this happens. Still, this is nuts. It's like a bombshell after bombshell. It doesn't feel like you've quite a lot of ground to cover. This isn't the sort of conversation you imagined you'd be having on the phone. And yet, you can hardly imagine an alternative way to reintroduce yourself to... Okay, hear me out. My parents are gone until 4 p.m., 5 if we're lucky. Those cult gatherings take forever to wrap up. Trust me. I'll send you the address of our new place. It's a small villa on the outskirts of town, right by the Tuliper Peak. Are you anywhere near Bloomberg right now? Bombarded by all these questions, you can only faintly make out an answer as you mull them over. I am, but... George, what are you saying? What do you think I'm saying? I'm saying you should come by while you can. Hiya. There's so much stuff I want to talk about. You can't expect me to do all that on the phone, especially not when I can't even see you. Look, George, I don't think this is the right time to attempt something like this. Huh? Why not? Well, you've half a mind to simply say it's complicated, but you have a feeling he wouldn't appreciate that. He's heard that explanation too many times in his life to see any meaning in it anymore, and frankly so have you. It's just a very, very scary time for me is all. Well, with everybody being scared to death by me even existing in the first place. Plus, I'm kind of afraid your parents, not gonna lie. I'm kind of afraid of your parents, not gonna lie. I don't want them to find out that I went to your place without them knowing. I can't even imagine what they'd do with Isaac. Here's youthful voice calmly state on the other end, more serious than it's ever been. 5 minutes ago, you were dead to me, and now I found out you're alive. Think you give a damn what those 2 sacks of shit might think or do if we're caught? The seriousness breaks for a moment, and a river of sadness comes pouring in. Isaac, I've missed you. I've missed you so much. I never thought I'd even get to say those words to you again. I just want to know I'm not imagining this. That it's really you I'm crying to, you know? I know it's selfish of me to ask, but could you grant me that? Please? It's hard not to cry as well, when such an unfiltered emotion penetrates your mind, awakening dormant memories and regrets within you as it does. All this time you thought it was just you who suffered as everybody moved on with their lives, but maybe you didn't suffer alone. I understand. You muster the words before your brain even has the time to make a case against this reckless decision. I'll be on my way soon. Really? The relief in his voice is practically palpable. Thank you so much! You've no idea how much this means to me. Believe it or not, I think I kinda do. In spite of the maelstrom of thoughts that ravages your mind, your smile is genuine and your hope soars higher than ever. Whether it is once again misplaced or not remains to be seen. Man, I can't believe I'm actually going to see you again after all this time. You better not stand me up, got it? Hey, you know I'm not going to do that. Who do you take me for? You hear George chuckling again on the other side of the call. I'm kidding, don't worry. I know you wouldn't do that. Well, I'm going to go get things ready for your arrival. Don't be late. Ha ha, meeting with George, go. Brrr. Of course, see you later. See ya. And so, with a final farewell on your cousin's behalf, you hear the connection breaking up, leaving you as alone as when you first arrived here. That is to say, not at all. Huh. For some reason, I expected him to sound different. Nats? Oh, sorry. Weird thing to say all of a sudden, huh? After an awkward pause, the canine speaks once again. So, heading to your cousin's place after all? Looks like it. The mountains were definitely not where I expected to go today, but who am I to complain? It definitely beats staying home with that FBI jerk or Mr. Morgan. Oh, and speaking of, just got that message from your buddy. Like he said, what you're looking for is a remote villa off the main road to Tulliper Beak. Probably just your cousin misspelling it again. If you had to guess, wouldn't be the first time it happened. He never was one to remember places' names. Tulliper Peak. It's the smallest mountain surrounding the city. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a hill despite the name. Been there a couple times myself, but other than that, I don't know the place very well. Just that's a cool place to have a picnic at. Can't imagine how much it cost those jerks to buy a house in such a remote location. A villa, no less. The Labrador's tone shifts to a more curious tone. Oh? You didn't give me the impression that your family was rich. You shake your head, visibly annoyed as you reply to Natalie's implicit question. Implicate questions. They aren't. They just fancy themselves rich, especially George's parents. Oh? What are they like? Oh, you know. Fancy cars, fancy houses, fancy clothes, massive debt. That kind of family. Huh. Never even knew people like that existed. Yeah. Though, I guess it kind of worked out for them. None of their friends or relatives even know how dysfunctional they are behind all those sparkles and glitter. Your friend sounds a little taken aback by your sudden burst of anger, fueled by unpleasant memories from your not-so-recent past. Wow. Are you sure you want to reconnect with the likes of them? They don't sound like the most nice people to be around. You're right about that. Those two can die in a ditch for all I care. I've had enough of them while I was human, and the last thing I want would be to suffer for the rest of my existence as well. No, I only wish to see George again. You appear to have gotten a little worked up over this discussion, far more than you usually are when similar topics arise. Natalie is quick to realize this. You really care about him, don't you? Yeah. For a moment, you walk in silence, your emotions a tad too unbridled to allow yourself to continue this conversation. Usually, you don't shy away from ranting to your understanding canine friend. When it comes to your family, it suddenly feels a lot more difficult to share these sensitive details. It's probably for the better this way. Not everything that crosses your mind should be shared with every one of your friends, especially considering that it hasn't even been that long since you first met. Either way, this isn't what you should be worried most about right now. So you do your best to ignore these conundrums for a minute or so while you focus on the road. You notice that you already began the trek towards Toliper Peak as you were thinking, already cutting down on time a lot. You more or less remember where to begin the climb up the hill. At least, from there you'll have to rely on your canine aid to get to your destination. Knowing this, you press on while trying to keep your conflicting feelings at bay. You continue heading towards the base of the hill, your mind still no better off than it was a few minutes ago. Natalie's explored the road you're supposed to take from there already, so you've no fear of getting lost along the way to George's place. Yo, what's going on here? Hang on. There we go. Yeah, my side of the stream froze for a second. Because, I have it on one screen, but yeah. Natalie, yeah. It is still quite hard not to get lost in your own thoughts, however. Hey, how are you holding up? Natalie keeps checking on you every so often, whenever she feels like you're giving more thought to your fears than the road ahead of you. I'm doing fine, thanks. You try to reassure your friend, but in the end, you can't even put your own worries at ease. Still thinking about him, huh? Yeah. How could you not? Your cousin's all you can think about right now. Your family in general is all you could think about for the longest of times, and now you're taking the first step towards actually seeing them again. Well, it's really hard to think about anything else. Tell me more about him then. About George. That's rather curious. Shouldn't she be trying to get you to focus on anything but him right now? To get your attention back towards your surroundings anyway? Unless she believes that to be a useless endeavor, of course. Which, fair enough. Well, we kind of grew up together in a way. His parents were at my place every so often, so I always ended up babysitting him in my room while they chatted with my mom and dad in the kitchen. I see. How old is he again? He's 15 right now, and I started looking after him when he was 5. So that's a 5-year difference between you two? Wow, you're already babysitting kids at 10? It's not that crazy, is it? Of course it's not, but it's still pretty impressive. Plus, it's not like every parent is so quick to hand over their kid to another child. Mine wouldn't have trusted me with a doll, for one. Yeah. I'm surprised they even let me near the poor kid at all. Huh? What do you mean? You sighs recount yet more unpleasant memories. Let's just say that his parents were always quick to shower him with attention. Oh. Like, he got way too much attention growing up? I don't understand why that'd be. The wrong kind of attention. My parents were strict, sure, but his were utterly deranged. If even half the stories he told me about them during those babysitting sessions were true, then... You shudder as you try to sort these awful thoughts out of your head. That's why I tried to babysit him as often as I could, even after he grew too old for it. Be it to study for a test, learn a new sport, or just look after him while his parents were away. I tried to make my room his second home as much as I could. It's not like those two were going to parent him right anyway, so I took it upon myself to give him the sort of love and attention he really deserved. Aww, that's so nice of you. I'm sure he's very thankful for that. You figuratively blush as you're reminded of all the nice gifts you've received from him over the years. That ice sculpture he left with you when he was 7 still holds an important place in your heart. Your gifts to him may have been cool and shiny, but his always felt the most genuine and true. Yeah, he was. I always tried to be positive around him, be the sort of warm shoulder he could both cry and rely on while growing up. I gave him time to vent all the stress away, of course, but then I did my best to focus his emotions in the right direction, give him opportunities to express himself that he wouldn't get elsewhere. Of course, I couldn't do everything on my own. In the end, he still ended up suffering a lot in his life, and all I could do was sit and watch from afar as it happened. As you reminisce about those nightmarish times, you feel something brush your hand as you're walking down the sidewalk, prompting you to pull away from your reminiscing mind and refocus back onto your surroundings. It appears a young kid reached out to touch your hand while you weren't looking, dragging a middle-aged lady with him as he did so. His eyes spark with curiosity and excitement, whereas his guardian is anything but. Fearing that you might have somehow hurt him without realizing it while chatting nonchalantly with your friend, you try to reason with the elderly woman. Sorry. Are you alright? Ugh. Get away from that thing already, Billy. Without another word, the lady grabs her teary-eyed child and storms off, not deigning you with another moment of her time as her kid screams at the top of his lungs. You stand still in the middle of the sidewalk, stunned, as the people around you eagerly record the incident that just occurred. You can only hope they caught more than just the aftermath of that drama as you try to process what just happened in your mind. Well, that was awkward. Natalie tries to make light of the situation, but you're in no mood for that. That was normal. Total lack of explanation and everything. Most people see me as nothing more than radioactive waste, and the rest? Take a brief look around you, your annoyed gaze unnerving the bystanders nearby. Not too long after, everyone is back to their regular lives as if nothing happened, while still keeping an eye or two locked onto you. Gosh, what a jerk. Didn't even explain what her deal was, and all these clowns taking pictures like it's nothing are annoying too. Now it's the Labrador's turn to let her emotions run wild. Not like you can blame her. Between this just now and yesterday in the train, she's had plenty of opportunities to see what people really think of synthetics like you. Well, I'll get used to them. Unless you guys can convince the world that I'm a human, I suspect we'll see plenty more people like that. Ugh. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's alright. I don't blame you for getting worked up over this or anything. Still, in spite of your attempts at following your own advice, you can't help but feel a little fearful over what just happened. God, I really hope he doesn't react like that as well. Huh? What do you mean? Nothing. It's nothing. Your friend clearly doesn't buy it. Come on, what was bothering you? Nothing, I might as well say it. I guess I'm just worried about how George might react to seeing me like this is all. I know I'm probably worrying over nothing, but you sighs, you wonder how best to explain your fear, which is as irresistible to you as it is mysterious. I think you're probably still a little shook from that lady and her antics, all things considered. But you shouldn't be worrying like that. Your cousin sounded ecstatic upon learning you're synthetic. I'm sure he'll welcome you with open arms. I know he reacted positively when he found out about it, but will he react positively when we actually meet as well? There's a big difference between your thoughts on something that you've only seen in the news and something you can actually see with your own eyes. I worry that once the illusion breaks and he sees me for what I really am, he might react the same as these jerks. Come on, have some faith in him. He's your family. Well, the good part of your family, anyway. He went through all these lengths just to meet you. I'm sure he won't turn his back on you now, even if you look a little different from before. You can feel a phantom tear fall down your cheek as you reply to your friend's kind, reassuring words. Are you sure about that? Positive. Everything's going to be all right. You have my guarantee. I'll take that. Ooh, number 3. With a newfound smile on your face, you continue your downtown trek, making sure to no longer bump into other people by accident as you do. Even as the streets start to lose their sense of familiarity and you begin traveling through previously uncharted territory, you never let go of your hope that what you'll find at the end of this journey will be worth all the hassle you went through. A good 20 minutes later, you finally reach Tulliper Peak and begin the climb to the summit. The area is unfamiliar to you, but it appears to not be commonly traveled at this hour of day. If these hills could speak, they'd probably be relieved that tourism isn't something the town nearby heavily relies on. Eventually, about half an hour after you first begin your trek uphill, you notice an off-beaten path that seems to lead to a private area. Given that the path was large enough to fit a car and probably more, you decided it would have been a good idea to investigate further. Sometime later, you finally found a secluded villa overlooking the town below at the end of the path. Had you not known it was here, you might have almost missed it, half hidden between its peaceful surroundings as it is. The soothing late autumn colors of both the building and the hills around it put your tired soul at ease as you gaze upon what seems to be George's new home. So, looks like this is the place. Natalie tries to spark a brief conversation with you, seeing as though you've been lost in thought ever since you first arrived here. What do you think? Does this look like the sort of place you had in mind when you were looking for your relative's new hiding spot? I'm not sure about that. You definitely weren't expecting them to hide in plain sight like this, at least. You thought they'd at least move cities, maybe even cross a state line or two. Instead, they stayed right here, almost as if to taunt you. Or maybe they just expected you to look for them elsewhere. You never were good with mind games. Either way, it looks like I can't delay this any further. What do you mean? You sigh as you confess your thoughts to the ever-curious Labrador. I'm talking about my fears, my half-baked ideas of turning tail and running mostly. I've been struggling with those ever since that call earlier, and there were a couple times along the way where I almost did it for real. But now, there really is no going back. Whether I can stomach it or not, I'm here now, and I have to keep my promise. Agreed. No way you're going to let your cousin down, right? Plus, even though I doubt anyone would stumble onto this place at random, it's still a good idea to get out of the road as fast as you can. If someone were to see you here, they might start spreading rumors. And George's parents might find out about this. Yet another thing you hadn't previously considered. Now you feel doubly a fool for hesitating this much. It's probably a good thing you didn't catch a glimpse of another soul while getting here. But you shouldn't be pushing your luck. Now I really need to get in. Yep. Well, the doorbell is right there. Good luck! Without giving you the opportunity to even wave her goodbye, Natalie suddenly interrupts the call, likely hoping you'll get this reunion started a little bit faster this way. Seeing as there's little point in further words or thoughts, you uncertainly walk forward towards the door, trying to keep your mind calm and silent as you do. As you press the button on the intercom outside, however, keeping your fears and worries chained up proves much harder than originally expected. Though irrational these fears may be, you cannot stop yourself from second-guessing your every choice because of them. Even now, you're tempted to simply head back and run as far away as you can, as per their wish. After all, it's not like you have to do this. In fact, you don't have to do this. Why are you even doing this? You thought you knew the answer back when Daphne confronted you about it last night, but now you're no longer so sure. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Bradbury's words from earlier in the morning resurface in your head, ever ready to taunt you for your indecisiveness. Can you truly face George as you are now, when you're not even sure of who or what you are? Can you truly allow him to feel joy upon seeing your face, to feel glad that you finally returned, if you don't even know whether you're deceiving him or not? The doubts keep piling in your mind, overpowering your every hopeful thought, and it's only a matter of time before they finally come crumbling awaiting voice identification. You freeze in place as you hear an AI's voice question you from the intercom. A C grade? How the fuck did they afford that? You don't even have time to question that as you hear the voice perk up once again. Attempt number 2, awaiting voice identification. If you are an authorized user, please enter the correct password. As your head scrambles for a solution, hear a resolute voice advise you from the back of your head. Isaac, stay calm. If it hears you say something it doesn't like, it might alert your relatives. Or worse. Nats? You didn't expect her to be back so soon, but given the circumstances, you're glad to know you don't have to brave this unforeseen complication on your own. It's okay, Isaac. As long as you keep quiet, it won't... Voice identification not received. Warning. Please provide identification or the police will be notified. The police? As if this couldn't get any worse. Nats, any ideas? Panic? That's not a solution. It's anything but. You have 5 seconds. It's not a solution. It's my state of mind. Oh gosh, Mary's gonna kill me. Nats, this isn't the right time for this. You have 3 seconds. Do I stay quiet? Do I speak up? How do we get out of this? I don't know. Maybe we could try hacking into the intercom? It's too late for that. At this rate, You have one... One what? The AI never clarifies. It suddenly stops in the middle of its tracks, leaving you dumbfounded yet terrified. Did it lose interest in you somehow? Are you in the clear? Did it already send that automated warning to the cops? That's when you hear the door creak open as a mischievous-looking grin pops out from within the house. Fuck it, we're gonna keep going. Whew, that was a close one. Didn't I tell you to call me when you got here so I could help you with Charon? With Sharon? Charon? A young chipper gazelle stands in the space between the porch and the living room, right on the edge of the doorframe. He's a few inches taller than you remember him for sure, and his attire is completely unlike his personal style, but there's no doubt in your mind. It truly is your cousin smiling brightly at you right now. You should probably be feeling something akin to relief upon seeing his face after so long, but given what just transpired, your feelings are a little more complicated than that. You never told me anything of the sort, you dingus. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. The gazelle awkwardly looks at the ceiling as he realizes you've called his bluff. Oh right, guess I kind of forgot. Probably because I was so excited to see you again and everything. That's about as awful an excuse as it gets, and yet it tugs at your heartstrings nonetheless. You probably shouldn't let him off the hook so easily. Though, knowing yourself, that's exactly what you'll end up doing in the end. He's got those eyes. They're staring into your soul. He can see your sins. While you think about this, you notice that George has finally stopped looking elsewhere and is now staring at you straight in the eyes, or whatever has since replaced them. As he moves his gaze up and down, inspecting every nook and cranny of your new body, his flustered cheeks begin to glow bright red. You've really grown since the last time I saw you, huh? It's not me who got big. It's you who got short. And everyone and everything else. Yeah, right. Still as easy to tease as ever, I see. Now you're blushing too. At least on the inside. Out of all the ways you thought this reunion would make you feel, you didn't imagine awkward would be on the list. And yet, in spite of how embarrassed his words have made you, the sight of your cousin standing before you makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside nevertheless. It really has been too long. Man, it feels like yesterday when you looked so not like that. But now look at you. You're a whole new person. A much cooler person to boot. God, I can't speak. Huh? I was cool before I died too, you know. And besides, is that really what you're supposed to say after all this time? The gazelle laughs off your half-serious concerns as he invites you to step inside. Come on, you can yell at me all you want from the living room. That way, Sharon won't listen if it somehow gets back to the intercom. Now that's a scary thought. Scary enough to overcome your embarrassment and force you to awkwardly stumble inside into George's place. All you can hope for is that your cousin's confidence in your safety isn't entirely unfounded as you cross the entrance into the large mansion. We're gonna leave off here tonight. They can see all of your sins. They have seen unspeakable things. Insert joke about George's eyes. Real quick thing. For the next couple of days, I will not be streaming. Got some shit going on. I will hopefully be back on Sunday. I'll also announce it on Twitter, so yeah. But other than that, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all later. And there were 2 total uwoos. No, there were 3 total uwoos.